In today's academic world, the publication process in an academic journal is increasing one's own reputation, and it is also a forefront for one's own career ladder to be improved. So publications are considered to be an academic currency, like it has been used as a means for enhancing one's own research career and the advancement of knowledge. So why do we use academic publications? I feel it may be because of sharing the findings with the others in their field. The career progression of researchers contributes to the overall body of knowledge in a particular field. And also you could see researchers receive feedback when the publications are done. So this is the main four important reasons of why academic publications are in process. What are the other personal reasons? As I've mentioned you, lot many PhD programs are coming up in universities. So they wanted to achieve a PhD degree, get funding for the researchers, they want to get promoted, and so many reasons can be enlisted as a personal reasons for the increasing number of publications in today's scenario. So according to a study released in 2010, the hard fact behind the publications numbers are just to evaluate the potential new hires based on the length of their publications. So, however, the quality of the academic integrity that what they possess, the knowledge they possess, the sharing of information, it is all beyond that. The resume is padded up with many number of publications, and based on these things, the publication numbers are exploding nowadays in the universities. And to that end also, because of all these reasons, the increasing number of publications in scholarly journals have come up. So today, if you just look at that, 28,000 scholarly peer-reviewed journals are coming up. Astonishingly, to see there are more than 2.5 million articles which are coming up every year. And if you see the percentage of growth of publications, 4 to 5% of growths are seen according to the International Association of Scientific, Technical, and Medical Publishers. So the vast numbers of exploding research articles are coming up in today's world. Now, what should we know about publication ethics? So, though we are required to publish journals for many other personal reasons, or to put ourselves in a very good academic career pathway or on a ladder, we should never forget about the publication ethics. What are publication ethics? These are the ethical standards for one's own publication so that we will be ensured with high quality publications, scientific publications of public trust, where the major findings of the publication should be utilized for the benefits of the public, and also people receive credit for their work and ideas. In all these aspects, if you feel the ethics is present in your research, then you are satisfying the publication ethics. So as I've listed here, the different publication ethics, like journal reporting standards, so the previous speaker was talking about all the reporting standards of predatory journals and how to identify a journal and all. So this standard is an important criteria. Apart from this public data set access, one's own data, what we are using it for publication should be available in the universities, at least minimum of a period of 2 to 5 years for the usage of the data for the future users should be there. Involvement of hazards and animal researchers like control trial, all these are there. And no multiple manuscript submissions and publications. So all these, if you involve into your research publication, then you follow the public ethics. And one among that is the plagiarism. Yeah. Plagiarism, the word, how do you have to pronounce the word plagiarism? So I even was pronouncing it as plagiarism, but the exact pronunciation of plagiarism, you have to say plagiarism. So plagiarism is nothing but using other words or ideas without properly giving credentials for the original authors. It is presenting the words, ideas, not only words and ideas, images, sounds, or creative expression of others as your own. Then it becomes a plagiarism. Just to detail understand about plagiarism, it is originated in the year 17th century from the Latin word called plagiaris. That means a kidnapper. That means using others' information, anything of the others, and claiming as your own. It has been entered in the dictionary, Oxford Dictionary, in the year 1621. Imagine the use of others, theft of others' knowledge. It all has credentially rooted up in the year 1621. And it means someone's work is being used without giving the other original authors the proper credit. So according to the Webster Dictionary definition, it is the practice of taking someone else's work and ideas and passing them as your own. The synonyms of plagiarism includes cheating, it can be copying some other's work, infringement, theft, and stealing. So plagiarism means someone's use of someone's work without giving them a proper credit. So in academic writing, whenever we try to use any author's words or ideas, information from a source without citing them, without referring them properly, then we call that as a plagiarism in an academic writing. So based on different dictionaries, different definition, these words which I have highlighted in the bold letters are the common statements which you can see in the different definitions of plagiarism. The wrongful appropriation, stealing publication of another author's language, thoughts, ideas, or expression, and representing all of them as one's own original work, we do refer them as plagiarism. According to the Committee of Publication Ethics, plagiarism is widely defined as the unreferenced, when you don't cite in your article, unreferenced use of others' either published ideas or unpublished ideas, including research grant applications for a submission of new authorship for complete paper, even in a different language other than the author's original language. All these are contributing to plagiarism. It even applies to even printed and electronic versions also. And it also states when you copy more than 6 or more consecutive words in a continuous set of 30 number of words, plagiarism occurs. So if you just look at the view on the present scenario of publications, we could see that 35% of all articles which are published is in fake journals. Since they wanted to increase the number of journals and they wanted to increase the set of a resume and the pressure from the universities, there are a lot many number of article publications are going in the fake journals. And according to International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, they have identified over 11,000 fake journals between the year 2015 to 2020. And there is data manipulations is of great concern and proliferations of predatory journals, as we have discussed in the last present speech. We could see that the proliferation of predatory journals are more, and conferences, and also there is number of admissions into PhD and MPhil are doubled up over 1.85 lakhs in the recent years, has contributed to increased number of publications and the increased rise of plagiarism. So understanding within the academia, like if students, professors, or researchers are considered when they use plagiarism, it is called as an academic dishonesty. It is called as an academic censure. And even once the offenders who tries to do plagiarisms are being expelled, and there are different levels of punishments and penalties are there, including the termination of contracts for professors and researchers, it to be found with higher incidence of plagiarisms within the university. And there are a few examples which I would like to quote here. Like even if you are in a higher position and if there is a plagiarism, the Hungarian president has resigned because he has found as doctoral plagiarisms seems to be scandal. German minister loses his doctorate after a plagiarism. Hokoriko Obakato is a researcher. She has fabricated her data in her scientific study on a stem cell research is found to be plagiarized, and she was found to have a penalty on that. Former Delhi University, India's vice chancellor, is also accused of plagiarism. And there are so many examples. If you go to the website, I can quote here and give you an number of lists I can produce here. But what actually we wanted to study here, what is plagiarism? When these 4 elements mentioned in the screen are there, like the unattributed, you don't cite properly and use somebody's words, text, ideas, or illustration. Or if you failed after using, you failed to credit the original real author, or the plagiarist claiming that the entire article of other than the original and the plagiarist as the own author. And if you fail to obtain the original's author's consent in the use of any text or images. So if found in a publication, a research article, if all these elements are there, then individually or collectively, then it is constituting a plagiarism. Why does it matter? Why don't we use other reference articles and make a beautiful one? It matters because it is considered as a breach to an academic integrity. It is a principle of an intellectual honesty. We should respect the intellectuality of others. If you don't acknowledge the other's work, that means it is an academic theft. And if you have a poor scholarship, You try to pass off another one's information as your one. And also, as you're trying to simply copy and paste, you fail to complete your own learning process. So it becomes unethical if you use others' property. And sometimes serious consequences are there when you try to plagiarize yourself in the research papers. Sometimes all these, as you're working in a university, the reputation of that particular university and the standards also is reduced when when the articles are plagiarized in common. So how, according to an American public university system, academic dishonesty means presenting statistics, facts, or ideas even if you use direct quotes, in-text citation and reference, okay, when it is not properly cited, paraphrasing a source, even if you are studying another article and try to recreate on your own words, and even if you do that and if you don't use proper in-text citation and references, using fake bibliographical information, sometimes selling or purchasing of research papers, giving incorrect information in your research article, copying so many words and ideas, and that will be the majority of your work without giving credit to the original author. Repetitive researches, recreating our own article again and again in a different form, a replication in a different form, exchanging the title of the article, republication in translation in the other languages without even permission of the original author. So all these are counted into plagiarism. Why does this act happens? What are the causes? Promotion, as we have discussed, peer pressure, financial monetary gains, enormous pressure by the university people on the faculties for publication, university or research grants, and one's own lack of knowledge about plagiarism, unrealistic expectations. All of us wanted a publication. If there is a submission or a performance appraisal, we wanted all our articles to be published within 1 or 15 or 30 days, where the proper process of evaluating your article fails because of predatory journals who flashes you the information like this message in the publications can be done in a week time or a 7 days of time. Lack of standardization, predator journals increasing in numbers, the goals of institutions or the pressure from the regulatory bodies, very easy access of internet where you can copy, cut and paste and download. All these happens. Fear of failure. International researchers publishing in index journals are increasing in number. So all these high pressure, one or other reason tries to contribute ourselves to put into papers where we try to involve into unknowing plagiarism in our article. Now, the University Grants Commission has also brought up certain regulations in order to promote the academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism in higher education institutions. So this document has come up by the UGC and it has been published in July 31st, 2018. And it strongly mentions words about plagiarism. So the objective is it wanted the higher academic institutions to prevent plagiarism by creating awareness on plagiarism, preventing plagiarisms in academic writing, and it wanted to facilitate a good responsible conduct to education training to all these students and faculties, and also to establish systems to detect plagiarism. So all these are some of the objectives of UGC, and they also have mentioned like what are not plagiarism. If you quote a work with necessary permissions and attributions, and if you mention good references, bibliography, table of content, professors, and acknowledgements properly in your article, and use of general terms, laws, symbols, and standard equations, all these are not considered as plagiarism. Out of all manuscripts of any university have to be routinely screened by certain softwares like iThicate, Turnitin, and so on. All this has to be used by all universities before publishing an article or submission of thesis or dissertation of the particular university. Now, we had a good idea about what is plagiarism. Now we'll see what are the different forms of plagiarism and how carefully we can avoid. The common forms of plagiarism includes ghostwriter, the photocopy writer, the potluck paper writer, the self-stealer writer. The ghostwriter involves just copying the another person's work word by word and by verbatim without citing a proper original author, then it becomes a ghostwriter. What is a photocopy? Significant, not the entire article is copied, but a significant portion of the article is copied from one single source or from different sources, but you fail to cite that particular article and not giving acknowledgement to the source. What is a potluck paper writer? You are attempting different other sources. You try to collect all these sources and make one important article, and you even try to paraphrase it. But what happens when finally you don't have your original article, but it reflects what the original contents which you have taken from different sources are presented, and that becomes a potluck paper writer. And finally, the self-stealer writer. So you don't borrow the articles or the ideas or pictures from the other people, where you start to self-steal your previous own work. You try to divide, augment it, cut into many papers, and you present. So all these are the common forms of plagiarisms. Theoretically, we can put all these things in a very simple terms where you can easily understand are the different types of plagiarisms which I'm trying to tell you. Global plagiarism means passing off the entire text. You don't try to change anything in that. Just like that, what is available, you're trying to pass off the entire concept of some other works. We call them as global plagiarism. Verbatim, copying down word by word, trying to do modifications, directly copying someone else's ideas. Paraphrasing is you're using the concept, but you try to rephrase them in your own words and trying to present them on your own. Patchwork means trying to collect information from different other sources and all stitched together as patchwork so that you get the beautiful structure of your content text. That is called as patchwork plagiarism. And self, as you have said, recycling your own past work. So all these are put into different types. Whatever we do, it has been encompassing, and these words tells you the different types of plagiarisms. So that we'll see one by one. What is global plagiarism? I have said you, you're taking up the entire text of someone's ideas and passing it off your own. For example, like if somebody is giving you an assignment or an essay, what student does? They just go download the article, which is already have n numerous of articles available in the Google. And if you do a engine service, like you go for the Google engine search, it gives you a beautiful article just like that. It is downloaded. So because it is lying about the authorship of the work. This is considered to be the most serious type of plagiarism, and it has its own severe consequences. Now, how to avoid? Just don't copy. Try to be straightforward. Write your own article to prevent global plagiarism. Next is verbatim plagiarism. This could be the completely identical to the original, or sometimes it may be slightly altered with few changes of word. It doesn't mean if you try to change few words of the article and say it is your own, even if you delete or change even a couple of words, but the structure and the majority of the words shows that it is the original article, same as of an original article, then it is called as a verbatim plagiarism. So most commonly, these verbatim plagiarisms is seen as introduction and discussion part of every manuscript. Like how to avoid this? Academically, verbatim plagiarisms need to be quoted. So we will see in the future coming up slides like how to quote, how to make a block quote, all this we will study. So you have to quote the original source appropriately with quoting inverted commas, and copy text in quotation marks, including in-text citations have to be presented. If you are not clear enough in doing it, you have citation generators which are available ready-madely, like in the form of MLA and APA styles, which you can use them. Because most of the plagiarism checkers identify verbatim plagiarisms very easily. The next is the paraphrasing plagiarism. Paraphrasing, as I've already said you, rewriting a part or a paragraph of a manuscript on your own. It is called as paraphrasing. And when you don't cite, even though you rewrite the words, put into a restatement of your own words, but when it is not properly referenced or properly cited, then we call this as a paraphrasing plagiarism. So how to avoid it? So you have to cite these sources, in-text sources, footnotes, or whatever it may be, according to the different citation styles. If you try to source them out, even if you do paraphrase, you are reducing the number of plagiarism percentage in your research article. So this is an example of a paraphrasing. So the original article, which is given on the left by the Durman 2003 is being given. If you see the right side, the citation is not there. They have not ever mentioned the article original author's name Durman, but the concept of Durman is being taken in which year, which words are being copied, which is not given in quotations. Then that means you are not properly paraphrasing your content. which upon then you submit to in a plagiarism check, which will obviously show a higher percentage of plagiarism. Next is called as patchwork plagiarism. What is patchwork? As I said, it is also called as a mosaic. That means plagiarism, like copying phrases from different sources and trying to put them all together to create a new text. But what happens, the basic structure of the original articles, then and there, even you do a stitching, persists there, which sounds that is not your own article. Again, how to avoid this patchwork plagiarism? You can copy the information, you can use the terms, okay, so but you have to properly cite the sources or quote, use in quotations or try to paraphrase, then you can avoid the plagiarism percentage. There are a lot of plagiarism checkers like Turnitin, which will completely show if you have been using it from the different sources, can be easily identified. So this is an example of patchwork plagiarism. You could see like the different colors like blue and the pink colors. There are different authors present. The concept of it sounds to be similar with the other article, but the author has not given the proper citation. In-text citation is not given. Hence, the percentage of plagiarism of how much you have used is shown in the text on the right side. That means 34% of the plagiarism is there in the given article is being given when you pass it on through a plagiarism application. Next is the self-plagiarism. That means publishing one's own idea of what already we have published. So this doesn't contribute to any scientific improvement in knowledge. All these self-plagiarist work are only going to increase the number of publications for the authors. It is just only to add on your number of publication, and this is absolute dishonest. It is not called an intellectual theft because it is your own article, but this is unethical using it as a dishonesty towards yourself. If you see self-plagiarism, there are different types of self-plagiarisms: duplicate, augmented, segmented, and text recycling. What is duplicate? Completely, the author tries to make a similar identical article, same as that of the data, results, intuition, in trying to present that in two different journals with only the change in the word of a title or something, then we call that as a duplicate plagiarism. Okay, so as per the guidelines of publication committee of the publication ethics, this is considered to be an offense, and the editor can take action against them if you try to publish your own article in two different journals. Augmented publication. What is augmented? You have done already a previously publication. You're trying to manipulate the title, the aim of the study, little modification in the data. All these are called as augmented publications. And this is a technical plagiarism, and sometimes in plagiarism checker, it will not be found out because you're not copying somebody's ideas. It is your own idea, where sometimes it will not be evident, but this has its own complications and consequences once it is found. So the editor, if they try to consider this in case if the author wanted to refer the previous work, like following a previous work you wanted to publish another article, or the present article cannot be written in a different other forms, or we wanted to mention or take the data of the previous publication. In that ways only you are permitted to use an augmented publication. Otherwise, it is also called as a plagiarism. What is segmented publication? This is called a salami size publication. You do a big research work, you try to part them into 1 or 2, 3, 4, and you make 2, 3, 4 papers out of the single research work. So this is difficult to identify, as usually pointed out by the reviewers or readers. But the decision is on the editor's shoulder, like whether the segmented publications can be considered or not. So the article must be asked to refer. So if he is going to do a salami publication, the author has to refer this or the previous publication work and explain in his present paper why there is a connection of the previous paper and the present paper have to be clearly explained. The last one is text recycling. The text recycling means you're using the large portion of already published text and you're converting them into a new manuscript. So this can be deducted easily by a plagiarism software, and as per the guidelines of the publication ethics, it will be handled. Apart from all these types of plagiarisms, we also have the other cyber plagiarisms where you try to download papers just like that from the internet, which is called as the cyber plagiarisms. And then the image plagiarisms are called when you try to use images or videos without taking proper permission from the authors. then we call that as an image plagiarism. So it can be tampered or supporting findings. If it is going to tell you or strengthen a poorly visualized findings in an image, in that cases only you are permitted to use the image of an author, and that too without permission, you are not supposed to use it. Next. How are we going to, so knowing all these, the different types of plagiarism, so what is our role as a researcher? Myself, I have to consider thinking these four important steps. This is what we are going to elaborately discuss the next half an hour, like how to avoid plagiarisms by adopting these four important aspects of the plagiarism key factors. What are those? Keeping track of the sources you consult in your research. Whenever you try to write any articles or researches, always try to have the source, keep a track on how, what, where you are referring, what you are referring, and which year, all this information you have to keep a track. Paraphrasing or quoting, credentialing the original authors to proper citations, and using a plagiarism checker. So all these four keys will really help you in creating an article with 0% of plagiarisms. Now let's see discuss one by one. Keeping track of your sources. Am I audible?
Yes, Dr. Latha. Proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So the first important key is keeping track of your sources. Like whenever you are trying to make a research note, like students often simply forget, just a copy and make a paste on the new article, but they never track from there what the source is, original source, they try to copy them. So always have a track on this. So if you keep your notes organized and have a complete list of citation, the pitfall of creating plagiarism in your article is reduced. Clearly label your thoughts. What is your thoughts? What is the borrowed one? Have a notes on that. Highlight the statements that need citations. If you wanted to use the exact words from the different other authors, use them in the quotation marks. So all these will help you. Keeping track of your sources is the first and the foremost key aspect in preventing a plagiarism in your article. So this is an example of a research note. Like the article has given the green color one or the blue or whatever it may be. Wherever greenhouse is a common statement which has been given the pink color, but the author has not created the citation. Okay, whereas if you see in the blue color, which is quoted content, the author has given from where the sources has been taken. And if you're using the similar words from the original paper, you can see the green color where it is given in the quotation marks, the exact word or the statements copied from the original text, and also citation is given at the end of the text. This means you're properly citing your research article. Okay, number 2 is quoting. What is quoting? Quoting means you cannot change you cannot paraphrase that word. You wanted to use the similar words of the original author into your text. You cannot avoid using it. In that cases, you can use them in your own research article, but that should be enclosed in a quotation mark. The quotation text should enclosed in a quotation mark or formatted as a block quote. We will see what is a block quote. The original author should be properly cited in the article. Wherever the quotations are used, followed by the sentence you have to use in text citations. The text should be identical to the original. You are not supposed, when you're putting them in quotation marks, you're not supposed to change the words. The article, what you copy from the other original article should be the same identical word. You don't have rights. If you put them in quotation, you should not rephrase the words. In general, where you can use quotes can be appropriately used that in terms, if you wanted to use anybody's definition of the original author, then you have to use them. You're not supposed to rephrase the definitions without losing. There are certain cases where you have to reproduce them, but without losing its meaning, you have to copy the same words. You are analyzing the use of language which is used in the different texts. In that case, you have to use the same exact words. And you wanted to maintain the authority and the style of other authors' words, and you have to make a comment on it. Okay, so in all these cases, you have to use quotes appropriately. Okay, but you should see that which page number of the source is taken and what is the original author's original language used. All this have to be clearly indicated as citations. So as per the statement, whatever is exactly copied, you can have a sentence stating like Bob Jones stated within inverted commas, what you have copied from his article, you have to mention, right? So this quotation also depends on how much length you wanted to quote, and the citation style which you use based on this quotations also can differ. So we will see the different styles. So usually commonly what we use in all our publications is the APA style. If you try to make a direct quote of an APA style, you should use the author's name. So I think you can see the marker which I'm showing you the screen. Like you can see the author's name, the given example below, the author's name, the year, and the page number as given by the APA style has to be mentioned. And the exact word copied, which should be given in the quotation marks. Okay. So in an A, it can be a parenthetical citation or it can be a narrative citation. However, it is the parenthetical citations is explained at the end of any sentences. And narrative is when you use them within the sentences. You can see like this is the first example of the parenthetical citation. You have used your own words also. And the quotations are the words which is used as such from the original article, where you're citing the original author, Darwin, in the APA style. And this is the narrative citation where you're using the reference in citing the article in the text itself, stating certain verbs like explains, proves, states you use, and you try to make them up. So this is the second example is called as the narrative citations. However, it is what you copy from the previous article, you have to put them in the quotations. Okay, so this is a citing of an quote in an APA style. Next is through the MLA style. The MLA is nothing but the I'm just sure. MLA style, Modern Language Association. I just forgot. Modern Language Association text citation includes author's name at the last with a page number only, where the year is not mentioned as that in case of an APA style. So this is the difference between quoting article from the APA as well as in the and the punctuation marks like comma, the full stop, all this refers to the MLA side of publications. And what is using Chicago style of publication? Chicago footnotes has to be used. You can use the article, the fuller information, but you will give them the superscripts. Whatever you have copied from the previous original article, you will put them in the inverted commas or the quotation marks with a superscript, and down that you should have a footnote mentioned like this. So this becomes citing of an article in a Chicago style. Okay. So these are different examples of how our original text is, how it is quoted indirectly, incorrectly, and quoted correctly. Okay, so original text is this, where you can see the word arts, culture undoubtedly flourished is copied from the original article, but they have not presented in the quotation marks. Then that means, and the author's name is also not mentioned here. Okay, the article is not cited properly, then it will show plagiarism. Now, how can you make this correctly? You can use these words, whichever is copied, you can put them in quotation marks. And at the end of it, for APA style, you have to mention the citation properly as per your own style recommended in the publications. You can use them. And if it is a long quotation, it should be made in block quotes. We will see what is a block quote later. Now, there are a few tips in making quotes. Okay, so we'll see one by one. Make sure you integrate quotes properly into your text. Try to maximum use your own words, but see that you cite them properly. So don't present quotations as a standalone sentences. So this is a complete sentences without giving any explanation or introducing. You can't mention a complete statement as a quotation. Okay, so there are three things which you have to keep in mind when you are trying to make quotations in a very correct way. Add an introductory sentence. Like if you wanted to use anybody's article, you have to have an introductory sentence. Like the example which I have given and shown in the next column. In Denmark, okay, in Denmark, you are introducing the sentence with the quotation with your own sentence, followed by the quotation, the copied sentences, along with these proper citations. So this becomes the correct word. Otherwise, you can use the author in the beginning. This is called as in-text citations, where you're referring the author first and the year, then reports, you're using your own statement. The words which are copied from the previous one, you give them in quotation marks along with the page number at the end. So in either of this way, by introducing your sentences, you can introduce the quotation correctly. Otherwise, you can use an introductory signal phrase. That means when you use words like according to a recent poll, you're giving the author readers a view that you are copying some information from the original site. So this signals the readers that the forthcoming sentence within the quotation is the words used by Mr. Levering, 2018, page number 3. So this is how you can introduce a signal phrase introductory in when we are trying to make a quote, or integrate the quote into your own sentences. You can make the sentences completely on your own, but the exact words, what you wanted to present in the quotation with the proper references, with the exact punctuations. Then this is the correct way of quoting in your article, where your research article will be less plagiarized. So this is an example of a research paper. So as I said, this is the introductory signatory phase. As Darwin says, signal phrase is there, where the inverted commas, quotation marks, which is copied, are there. Now, what is this dot, dot? 3 dots are there. Like if you don't want to copy the entire full sentences or the full script of the original matter, you wanted only few of them to discuss in your original article, you can write them, but you can keep 3 dots, which is called as ellipsis. That means there are a lot of omitted text available. If a reader wanted that and they wanted to understand the full context, with this references, they can get back to the original reference and see the full quotation, what you have been using from the original author. Okay, so you can see in the research article properly quoted, the author is cited at the beginning, the quotation marks are there, the ellipses are presented, and the page number or the location where you have to read for further study is also mentioned here. Okay, so next is when you try to quote, there are certain tips which I want to tell you. When you try to quote text, it is containing from another quote, then it becomes citing a quote within a quote. It is called as a networking quote or a netting quote. It may occur, for example, when the quoting dialogues from a novel. You cannot say, like two persons' conversation, if you wanted to mention, she mentioned this from the original text you take, you give them quotation, nesting quotation, and again, you are going to reply with the other stating the same quotation. So in those cases, those two quotations can be given by double quotations. To distinguish this quote, you enclose it with a single, and the complete full sentence quotation is given in double quotation. So make sure you close both the sets of quotation. I'll just show you the example of double quotation. There are two statements. You can see this is one complete statement, and this is the other complete statement copied from the original author, but they have given double quotations here. This is wrong. If you are using double quotations, the other two quotations which is used in between should have only single quotation in the center. Clear? So example, you can see Faraday introduces his narrative by quoting his father, double quotations. That means from this place to this place, the author has copied from a different text. And it has got a nested, like this was answered, and again he is using his own word. Again, a narration is given from them. So in that cases, the second aspect of the quotation should be only single, and then you're closing 2-3 quotes and one single quote, double quotations have to be used. Okay, so next, shortening a quote. What is shortening a quote? So if suppose you don't want to copy the entire quote, as I've already showed you in the example, you can use ellipses like this. A part of a quote can be copied, and then you put 3 dots like this. It is understood by the readers that ellipses are there, and if they wanted further reading, they can be read. Okay, so as an example, you can see, since the sentence is full, but the researcher wanted to only present the sentences, he has used ellipses of 3 dots, showing from that there is a extensive material available, and which is referred in the page number 510 according to the author Darwin 1859. So this is a complete step of shortening a quote. So next one is altering a quote. You can add or replace words in a quote wherever necessary, because certain quotes which may not be appropriate for you, you can even alter or use them. Like if there are common statements like those is mentioned, like you wanted to mention who are they? They are female, they are male, they are participants, are researcher, whomever it might be. Those refers to the participants in this article. In that cases, when you use phrases, your own words into the quotes, it should be mentioned in the brackets again. And as per the APA style, you should use the author name, the year, and the page number at the end. So the bracketed word tells you that you're altering the quote, which is already taken from the original, what you try to mean in your present article. The second one is the use of the term called SIC. So SIC is nothing but if the statement of the original author is wrong, but you wanted to correct them in your present article, you have to mention the word called SIC in bracket. Okay, so still 2002 states that this is the exact quotation, but several problems have to be there, but you're going to correct them, which need to be corrected, you have to show them in SIC. Okay, so this is an example of altering a quote. If you wanted to have an emphasis on quoting, you have to use them in slanting words, like the slide success of enhanced reading on emphasis. So if it is required, you can also mark them as emphasis added. If you are adding emphasis added, then the quotations which you wanted to study more has to be highlighted in the slanting word. So these are few examples of altering quotes. What are block quotes? If you quote more than few lines from a source, you must format it as a block quote. So you can see like the author's name is given here with an indentation, right? It is not coming in the original line of indentation. 1.5 inches of indentation you have to present the block quote. The author's name is there. At the end of it, page number is there. But right from the introductory text, you have to have an indentation of 1.5 centimeter. Then it becomes a block quote. So this is an example of a block quote. Like you can see the author year is mentioned as per the references. At the end of the article, page number is there. And the indentation of 1/2 inch, 1.5, a half inch is present from the original line of indentation. The quotation comes over here, and then you are going to make a block quotation. Okay, so next one is when the quote should be used. As I have said you, when you are using a language and you're testing a language and you wanted to use the same language, then you use quotes. When you want to give an evidence of an writing of another person, then you use quotes. When presenting an author's position or a definition, you try to use them. So these are the examples, like when you don't want to change the language or an evidences, you use these examples of quoting. So these are some of the examples which I have given you. In these cases only, we can use quoting. Otherwise, try to avoid quoting, or rather try to use paraphrasing. Okay, so how to avoid plagiarisms? Third key is the paraphrase. So we have seen like keeping notes. Second one is using quotes. The third one is paraphrasing. So as we have already discussed, paraphrasing means putting someone else's idea into your own words. That means you're changing the words, whereas you're trying to preserve the original meaning of the original content. So it is alternative. Paraphrasing is an alternative to quoting. If you don't want to quote or use the exact words of the original author, you're trying to use your own words, and but you are going to properly cite them. So more than the quoting, I say paraphrasing is very good. In academic writing, you have to integrate a lot of sources because one reference will not be adequate. So where you need to refer more, but you cannot make in quotations because it will be similar to the original article. If you want to keep your voice front and your own innovative thoughts to that, add your own thoughts, and paraphrasing would be the ideal way, but proper citing the sources should be there. So also take care when you're trying to paraphrase, don't use the same words what the original source has. Then if you even do paraphrasing and if you use most of the words from the original authors as the same, then again you are trying to do a plagiarism there. So always you have to refer the original source at the reference, and the text even you produce may be shorter or longer than the original text, that doesn't matter, but do not use the same words as that of an original, but don't try to manipulate the context behind. The same context has to be there, but you are trying to paraphrase and you're going to bring your own content forefront. That is paraphrasing, right? So now these are original text like it has been given. The other one is paraphrasing. This is the original text where I'm trying to refer, I'm paraphrasing incorrectly by using similar words which are presented in the previous original article. How you can make a paraphrasing? I have not used any word copied from the original article, but the content is presented. I have used quoting properly with the reference of AP according to I have signal paraphrase, I signal quoting is there, and I have done all this. So then this means it is paraphrased well. Clear? So how there are certain tips which I wanted to add on here. So include the information only that is relevant to your document. Other than you don't think like making your article shorter than the original, but only information what you require from the original article, only take that. Always do a signal phrasing, as I've said, you according to them. The author believe that, the scientists believe that. So you introduce a signal phrase before you paraphrase. Retain the key terms. That means you cannot change the entire different terminologies, but the key terms which has to be used as a general phrase has to be used, because the entire concept of meaning will be different if you don't use the same key terms. Structure sentences in your own way instead of copying the structure of the original. Starting from a different point, presenting information in a different order. So all this can help you in paraphrasing the contents of the reference. What you do, use it for your article. When paraphrasing, you have to be careful in avoiding accidental plagiarism. If you don't take notes, you will be involved in accidental plagiarisms. This can happen if the paraphrase is too similar to the original code, or phrases or whole sentences which are identical are used. Then you have to use quotation marks even if you paraphrase. And there are a lot of paraphrasing tools are available. If you do not know how to do it, there are a lot of paraphrasing tools available, so which you can use as an academician. And when it is quite challenging to paraphrase the article, which is very tough and challenging, then you can use paraphrasing tools. And these tools, when you are using, always keep academic integrity in mind. And when there are very tough concepts that is very challenging, then you have to use them. So to ensure that you have properly paraphrased, don't forget to cite your resources. That is more important. And if you run a plagiarism checker on your article, then you will be caught with the plagiarism percentage. So how to paraphrase? There are different citations as I give you. In-text citations are there, and the different citation styles. Like in APA, you have to use the author name, the year, and the page number. In case of MLA text citations, you have to use the author name, not the year, only the page number. And when you're using Chicago footnote, you will be using the superscripts in the content, and the footnote should have the references as per the APA style mentioned over here. And if you don't know to paraphrase or know to citation, you have again citation apps are available, citation generators are available online. You can use them to create your own APA or a. So the famous one is Zotero. You can use Zoteros to use your citation markers can be done. Okay. So what is the difference between paraphrasing and both are same? I'm using quotations. I'm using APA style of references, but which is good. So as I've told you, quoting is just you're using the original content of the author within the quotation marks. More than this, when you try to use your own concept and ideas without changing the meaning of the concept, when you try to paraphrase, that sounds more better. Where your presence, paraphrasing means you've understood your complete text of it. Only after you understand the complete text, you're trying to rephrase them. So your voice becomes more dominant there. Okay, but quotes reduces the readability. Why? Because the same content is again represented in the new paper. So quotes are appropriate when you wanted to use only definitions, precise definitions, or you wanted to make a literary analysis, or if you want to make evidence in support of an argument where you wanted to use them, then only you use quotes. Otherwise, paraphrasings are better always compared to quotes. So how to reduce plagiarism? The next key is to summarize. So always read the original article completely and make a shorter than the original text. That means you are summarizing. So when even in summarizing, you have to use your own words with the limited use of quotations. So this is the example. The Martin's concept is understood by the author, and with the references proper citations, he has summarized the entire content into few sentences. Understanding the whole concept is present in the summary. Okay? So which is better again, paraphrasing or summarizing? Paraphrasing is always better because you are passing the information of the original author through your own words. So which may be similar length or sometimes even shorter you can use. But summarizing is you're boiling out, you're shortening down the entire concept of a longer piece of information to do a shorter than the original. Okay, so paraphrasing and quoting are the important aspects that you can keep in your mind when you are reproducing your articles with the proper references and citations. Then you become successful in reducing the number of plagiarisms. So every time when you quote or paraphrase, have an in-text citation clearly done, full references. If you and whatever the citations are done as per the in-text citations, give a full reference letter or a bibliography at the end of your paper. Acknowledge the source of information wherever they have given you data, and use the common citation styles like EPA, MLA, and Chicago wherever it is applicable as per the guidelines given by the journals which you are going to publish. And keeping on talking about what is citation. I just wanted to give you a clear picture of what a citation is. When you try to use the author original sources at the end of your paper or your presentation, where from the reader can get the source of your of the article, then it becomes the citation. So formatting sources in the work cited is different from formatting and text citation. So it is something different. All the works, what you are writing content and giving a bibliography end is different. And the text citation is running citations throughout your article is different. So you should understand the difference between two. And the list as you produce at the end may be in an alphabetical order after you have used the in-text citation. So if you want to know more about in-text citations, you can use the below website or the link to learn more about it. So what is in-text citations? In-text citations, when you use a indirect quote, like you're using your own content, you're making own content and then giving the content copied in the quotation marks with the author references. If you're making a direct quote, you can use the author at the beginning, use verse, and make a direct quote that the author represented with reference at end. And you try to paraphrase with your own words, try to change the content which is not similar to that of the original, but you will mention the proper citation as the author and the page number as per the style indicated. So if it is from a book, this is the perfect method of writing. It is from a book or a journal article, you have to use the author name, okay, page number. If there is no author, use the title in inverted commas and page number. Okay, so if author is there, always the author name have to be included. If it is from an online source, name, or if the page has no author, then you use the article title in the parentheses with the commas, with the brackets. And if you feel it is unclear, you may also cite by giving the name of the author and from which journal you have used it. These are examples from books, like whatever I have given you, I have put them in an order. So you can use in these styles to cite your articles. So this is from the entire website, how you have to create. And if it is a page on the website, then you have to use where even including the date of access you have to clear. If it is an entire website, author, the creator name, if it is available, the name of the article, name of the website, name of the organization affiliated to that website or the sponsors, the date of the resource created, if it is available, the medium of publication and the date of access. Similarly, if it is a page on the website, again, you have to mention those details here as per the information given here. So this is citing a single source. In-text citation, the article is written, in between the brackets, the author details are given. If the same, after the in-text citation, at the reference list, this should be reflected in the reference list. If it is a multiple resource in-text citation, you have to mention like this. So this is one citation, this is the second citation, and these both have to be added in the reference list. Okay, so this is how you have to make a citation, in-text citation, using single sources and multiple sources. If not, you can use sources like script citation generators if you feel that you cannot do it properly. There are certain examples. One among is the Scribber, where you can use copy, cut, and paste the article which you have used. This will arrange the references as per the different styles which you require. The citations you will get in no point of time. So these are the different ways, like 3 important ways we have finished, like making notes, quoting, and paraphrasing. Now the last one is using a plagiarism checker. Like if a plagiarism checkers, most universities have started using Turnitin to see the potential plagiarism. So what they do, they scan the document, whatever the databases they have in the web pages and publication, quickly they will compare with no period point of time, and they will give you the details of it. So consider using a plagiarism always before submitting any article to any publications. Always run a plagiarism checker, which you know, so that sometimes you may have forgotten or misplaced citation or a missing quotes may be there, or you could have paraphrased material very less compared to that of an original text. In all these cases, you have instances of potential plagiarism, and therefore it is very important you run a plagiarism check before you do. So what are the different methods? There are a few websites which are available like iThentical, Turnitin, www.plagiarism.org, original.com. And the most commonly used plagiarism checkers in India is the Orchid and Turnitin. Orchid is now renamed as Original now. Okay. So if you use softwares in India, so according to the UGC, so UGC has recommended InfliBrain. So as per the information from the Library Network Association, so the InfliBet Center on behalf of UGC, the MHRD and the Government of India has recommended two important anti-plagiarism softwares like Authenticate and Turnitin. So under the Shudkanga project is nothing but all the thesis. It's consisting of an archives of a lot of articles which can be used. Okay, so in 110 universities, they are using these two software applications for plagiarism. Currently, InfliBinet Center provides Arkin, which is the anti-plagiarism software, where it is used by more than 135 Indian universities over the year 2015 to 16. And now, beyond InfliBinet, there are a lot of plagiarism network softwares are available, and is easy used by most of the academic institutions and universities. And more than 550 universities have signed MOU with InfliBinet, and 460 universities also have contributed, putting their e-thesis in the Shudkanga InfliBinet. So Arkan plagiarism checker, UGC recommends these two, Arkan plagiarism and Arkan. It is now called as original. So Arkan is used more than about 250 universities and colleges in India and more than 3,000 institutes. And even in Europe, US, Asia, Middle East parts are using Arkan as a software to screen for plagiarism. So this is the common, according to the 2023 analysis. So these are the top 10 plagiarism checkers onlinely available. Okay, so where you can submit your articles. There are few are free of cost. There where you have to pay for certain words amount. Okay, so all this can be obtained through different plagiarism checker. And upon usage, you will know the advantages and disadvantages of all these things. So how do these plagiarism checkers work? So these checkers have advanced databases softwares. So when you submit an article, it will try to scan for matches of your text and that of the available databases, which is available in their software. So this is also commercial plagiarism checkers where you can submit to them and check your plagiarism percentage before you submit it against anything. So try to use all the tips which are given here as like quoting, paraphrasing, everything, so that you can minimize the plagiarism check in the softwares. So the accuracy is, no, each other plagiarism differs. One is not the same with the same other plagiarism checker. Maybe the algorithm, the site of databases, what they use differs to give you the different percentage of plagiarism upon using of different plagiarism apps. These are the few checklists that you have to be clear, like before submitting an article. Okay. So before submitting an article, always have a check. Like, are you using any someone else text and it is not properly quoted? When you use someone else's ideas, check whether it is properly paraphrased and you are including in-text citation. Properly in-text citations are included in the reference list or the bibliography. Have I consistently followed the rules of my citation style? Did I have committed any kind of self-plagiarism if I'm using my previous paper as a reference? Or I have used any reliable plagiarism checkers? All this have to be clearly checked before submitting your papers for publications. So what plagiarism checkers cannot identify? So it cannot identify the ideas or the non-text plagiarism like images or the text from the internal databases of your own universities, they cannot identify. So these are the drawbacks of the plagiarism checkers. So what is the zero tolerance policy? As per the UGC recommendations given for our higher education institutions, all the core work researchers included from the abstractal recommendation should have 0% of plagiarism. If at all in the non-core cases, up to 10% it is excluded. So if it is between 10 to 40%, the manual article will be withdrawn, okay, and shall not be allowed to publish at least for a minimum of 1 year. Similarity level 2, if the similarity or the percentage is 40 to 60, the article is withdrawn, the manuscript is completely withdrawn, and the concerned person will not be allowed to publish any work for a minimum of 2 years. And the concerned person is also denied for annual increment and the UG, PG, Master, MPhil programs, all will not be published. No, it's not permitted to guide these scholars at least for 2 years. And if it is more than 60, again, it is intensified. The same is intensified, like 2 successive annual increments will not be there. And a minimum of 3 years, he cannot be allowed to permitted to have guide students of PG, UG, MPhil or PhD. So these are the penalties recommended by the UGC in the non-core areas as per the percentage of plagiarisms are involved. So just we have a quick glance of do's, and already we have discussed most of the things. So we'll just start do's and don'ts. So pre-read the article before reading, scan the introduction, selection, headings, and conclusions before you start reading to get an overview. Take notes or highlight the thesis, main ideas, and interesting information so that you properly cite your article. Make a summary in your own words. When you finish reading, mention the citation next to it so that you will not forget from the author original sources where it has been taken. If you're using the original source word by word, use quotations and note the page number. Be sure to clearly indicate your notes taking when you're adding your comments of your material read. Keep track of all the bibliographic information, right from the different details which is asked by APA style citations. You have to collect all these details. Don't copy paste. Occasionally, don't think only 2 words matter, doesn't matter. No, it is called as a patch writing, and it also, when it goes for a plagiarism check, you will be caught. Cut and paste material directly into your summarizing or paraphrasing code. Don't do it. Please don't forget to cite even if you copy down articles. The summary tips to avoid plagiarisms: you should be researching, notes taking, reading, and documenting. So researching, estimate the time of the work where you have to do, double the time to make citations, expect to make trips to library at least, library databases, allow time to gather materials, allow time for reading. Read the chapter or the article to make a better understanding so that which point requires to be rephrased can be rephrased. Read through second time more slowly, section by section. Write a sentence or two in a summary so that you have a follow-up of your content writing. No, sloppy note taking increases the risk that you will unintentionally plagiarize. So as you do note taking properly with the original source citation, you will do less mistakes. So especially if you use multiple electronic source materials, it is very easy that you copy down and paste your documents, but with the citations, you have to do it. Identify the words that you copy directly so that you can put quotations. Jot down the page number, author, or title. Keep a working bibliography. Keep a research log. So in the bibliography, you can include the list of the work cited or the reference list, either in the different forms or the websites or the online sources as you have referred, make a reference list. Use the research log. So this is a notebook where you can have all the contents along with the bibliographic information, notes, quotation. So this is an example of a research log where as you take contents from the internet or from the different sources, you have to have the authors mention what are all the quotations used, okay, and ellipses. All these have to be used as a sample of research log when you're trying to refer any article. Document them properly. If you want to incorporate your own ideas, words, key phrases, pictures, that is not originally created by you, then you have to give the credit to the original authors by properly citing the resources. Don't forget citation. Though you paraphrase or quote, citation is really important so that you can escape from the plagiarism percentage. To cite means signal the reader where the words and informations have come, and properly use signal phrases, end-text citation, and footnotes wherever it is really important. So the same thing which I have included is like I have already explained you on ellipses and brackets, block quotes, quotations, the networking quotes, all this have to be nested quotes, all this has to be included when you are preparing your articles. So keep the person's name near the text in your notes, rewrite the key ideas using different words and sentence structures, mention the person's name either at the beginning of information or the middle or at the end. Double check whether you have used the same words or the different words of the original text is being used. Note down the exact page number and the references. And when you are in the action process of writing, paraphrase, take the summary from the original text so that you rely only on your memory. Check your version with the original for content accuracy and mistakenly borrowed phrases. When you finish, run them through a phrase Like wherever it is required, you use proper quotations and the references important. So action during the writing process, mark everything that is someone else word like you. These are some tips which I have told you. Like if you using quote, you can mention quote and mark the content. And if it is sources, you can mention as case. And if it is your own insight like me, then later you can add on the citations as the part of your process and publications. So record all of them relevant information as per your notes and also the page numbers wherever is required. So now what are the consequences of mild, moderate, severe plagiarism? If it is going to be mild, automatically the source cited in the text is there, but you have left the reference list. Quotation marks are omitted around the quote, then it is a mild plagiarism. If it is the text copy from a source with a few words changed, and you have source paraphrased without any citation, it is called as moderate. And severe means patchwork of different text passed off as original and paper written by someone else. In all these cases, it has got its own penalty. Like if you do mild, great penalty or automatically zero will be given for the content done. And if it is a moderate, failing grade for the students can be there. And if it is severe, academic probation or expulsion can be there. So however it is, what your articles are, try to retain the essential original essence of the original article and don't forget to cite it. No matter how drastically you have changed the context of your presentation, even if you're not properly citing, still you are plagiarized. Still the boundary of this research, publications and plagiarism is not still clear, but you can use all these different sources in order to have an extensive reading on plagiarism so that you can produce a scholarly article through these steps avoid plagiarisms. So make sure you're safe of your submitted articles, which is free of plagiarism. So these are these. So if I fail to produce what are the references I used here, then I am also not, I am also including plagiarism into my PPT. So these are the references I have cited for my use. So thank you for all your patience in listening and an extensive presentation.